Good morning to Black Women's Health Podcast. I am Dr. Rahman, and I am very happy to say that I have a very special guest with me today, Miss Lorene Cary. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So I'd like to just share a little bit about you. And although I should say that you are well known in Philadelphia, surrounding areas, and beyond, you have established yourself as an author, educator, advocate, and now a playwright.
Mm.
Very impressive.
You live a long life, you do a lot of work. I mean,
So I would like to talk about your play called Ladysitting. But before we do that, I thought people might be curious about why would a health podcast be talking about a play, talking to a playwright?
Mm-hmm.
And so my question to you is, do you see a relationship between health and the arts?
Oh, oh, wow. I mean, that's a setup line, right?
Or tell me your thoughts.
Sure, sure. I I believe that human beings came up with ways to express their sickness and health. I think that language, that the cornerstone of culture, which is language, is partly created in order to tell each other not just what we see, what we think, but what we feel. And I mean feel in emotion, soul, psychic, and physical body. And how do you know your emotions except through your body, right? How do I know that I'm frightened except by the clenching of my gut? How do I know I'm sad, right? It registers here in this body. And the arts do an amazing job for us of expressing it so that we are not alone with our illness and health, our joy and our trauma, but also so that we can ask each other for help, right? If I come to you as a doctor, you say to me, tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how badly it hurts, right? We don't think of that as art, but the language itself is cultural. It's something we've created. People who are deaf have a different culture because that culture is rooted, anchored to a different way of doing language, right? And that's where we start.
Somehow I thought you were going to say that. And it's interesting, in preparing for this, I came across an article from the World Health Organization basically echoing just what you've said. You know, they have been doing more and more research, gathering more and more studies, which show that the arts actually have a part to play in our healing.
Oh, so much so. Dance, fine arts, music. There is certain music that one plays to help access. It feels to me like accessing part of the immune system. Don't know, haven't done the research, etc. But I think there's music, there are paintings that we are called to that help us move ourselves to our best selves. Yeah.
Yes. I found a quote from the arts and health leader at the World Health Organization, a man by the name of Christopher Bailey, who is actually someone who is experiencing obesity and cancer.
Oh.
And he gave this following quote. He said, I found that when I'm on stage with the actors, I have this profound sense of well-being. I can walk, I can hold things, I can speak eloquently. It is as if the chemotherapy has disappeared for that period of rehearsal, which is really profound. And then he goes on to say, the arts are not about curing. It doesn't cure cancer, but the arts can heal. That is different. They create this sense of deep personal meaning that makes your life beautiful no matter the circumstances.
Wow, that's great.
That's really nice. That's really nice. It's an interesting thought to imagine that you would go to the doctor's office and part of your prescription would be to see a play,
Right.
to commune, to engage in the arts. That would be very powerful.
I was once talking with Sonia Sanchez, amazing poet, who said that when she had been very ill, just completely, we were talking about how women who are writers and artists, you have children, you have a family, you have work you do, you have your arts, and you just run yourself off the cliff, right? Trying to make it happen. And she said that a doctor of Chinese medicine told her after she'd had various treatments and Western meds and Chinese med, said, now I want you to go home. I want you to stay in bed. Don't get out, go stay in bed. And I want you to watch funny movies, whatever comedy you love best. And I want you to laugh for 2 weeks. Sonia said that did things for her, right? The medicine did, but yeah, of course it does. Yeah.
And we hear so much about people being unhappy, women being stressed. And if the answer was as simple as going to a play, you know, engaging in the arts, we might alleviate a lot of pain and suffering.
We would. And just the other thing is to think about the people in your life and watch what they have done. Sometimes we say arts. I love arts, but I love arts and culture, because sometimes when we say arts, we think of something that someone else has to do. But when you're walking around the house singing to yourself, you are using arts. Right? When I joined a choir, I mean, I was having all kinds of, get stressed out. I was on the school reform commission here about stress. Many things went wrong, and I ended up having a very, very rough episode with shingles. I was in my 50s, but I had shingles like your 90-year-old pop-up. I mean, I was down. And later, I got better, but I couldn't get strong. Right? I was no longer in pain after a few months. And I found that singing in the choir, you give all kinds of reasons, yoga does this, the deep breathing, but the singing loudly, wonderful music with a group, hearing my voice with these others amplified. After a few months, that made me stronger. It was healing. It also helped with my cure.
Yeah. It's empowering to know that our health is actually in our hands. It's not really in the doctor's office, and it's not necessarily in the bottle or the pill. We have a lot more power in our healing than what we assume that we do.
Yeah, we do.
All right. So tell me about Ladysitting. That's an interesting title. What does that mean?
It was the word we used when my grandmother came to live with us. She was 99. She had been diagnosed on hospice. So we expected that Nana would be with us for maybe 6 weeks to 6 months, right? Tops. I mean, she had degenerative heart disease, everything. She was 99 years old, and everything was failing. So we said, okay, come with us. Nana she wanted to live in her own house. She had stayed in her house. She was tough. She was going to do it.
So let me interrupt you. She had been living alone up until this point.
Oh, yeah.
This is age 99.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now, was she independent? My sister joked that she said, you know, Nana's independence is going to kill you. but you know, we went over, my dad went over, I went over, my sister went over, we all went over regularly, but Nana lived in her own house, in her own 2-story neo-colonial house in suburban New Jersey. She worked and she drove herself till she was 94, till she had a car accident, and said to me as I was driving her to work one morning, she said, honey, what do you think about me getting a new car? Oh, man. please, no. So when Nana came, that independence changed because of the illness, because suddenly she was not capable, so she was not solitary. She was not able to be alone in the same way. So someone was with her. And we said, well, Nana, Laura will come in. My older daughter will stay with you. She had been out of college for a year. So she said, I don't need anybody to babysit me. Why? And so we came up with the word ladysitting. We're not babysitting, Nana.
We're lady
keep you
sitting.
company. We're ladysitting. She had one of those things that happens. She had a bladder infection or urinary tract infection, could not get rid of it, going down, down, down. In the hospital, the social worker talked to me, so we cannot send her home. So the choice they offered was going to some sort of nursing or assisted living, or going to a relative. Given that choice, Nana said, okay, all right. She didn't want to. And I think in her heart of hearts, she hoped or expected that I would, on the down low, just take her back to her house and ignore them. Nana wasn't big on authority of other people to determine our lives.
Okay, so this is where things get very interesting for you.
Yeah.
So now she's in your home.
Right.
And how does life change for you?
Everything changes, because what I expected was that Nana would require about the same amount of care as she had required at her house. That is, we went in the evening, had supper together, and that was fine. In fact, there was a hospice nurse who came regularly. Nana's anxiety about the approaching death increased. We needed to have someone there to care for her when we were at work and daughter was at school. It was not at all the same. Her needs were very much more. And emotionally, I was surprised that she wanted and needed.
So that's interesting. Had you not realized the need before, or did something change as a result of her coming to live with you?
Something changed as a result of the hit she had, the hospitalization, and her relationship to her own mortality changed. I was trying to figure out how to do it in the play, and I had to create a character who is dead, who comes to her and talks to her, because she had, fended it off and said, that's for somebody else, that's later. But now she had gotten closer and she knew it was coming.
Was she willing to speak about it?
No. No.
Did you try bringing it up and having a conversation.
I had done before.
Mhm.
Nana's response was, you talked to me so much about death that you made me feel ill. I couldn't sleep last night. I was getting better.
So you became a caregiver, and your family, members of your family became caregivers.
True, true.
And that's a really hard role.
It is.
I mean, I can I don't want to give too much of your story away, but I can relate to the part in your book where you recount you were trying to reinstate her insurance.
Oh,
And you were, calling early, and you were speaking to person after person after person. And I'm reading this and I can just so relate. And then there's the part where they put you on hold after an extended, unfruitful conversation. And when they, connect with you, you say, while I've been on hold, I've Googled your location, I've booked a flight, and I am prepared to be there tomorrow. Now,
no.
with
This afternoon.
this afternoon, even better. I hollered. I mean, because I was like, this is somebody I can relate to. She has the true caregiver experience. Yeah. Amazing.
And then,
Amazing.
now I had to cut that from the play,
Oh,
right? It's in the book.
that was so funny. I mean, I think I was in a public place where I just laughed out loud because you say, she understands. She's my people. This is very real. This is very, very real.
Is, you don't know whether that bureaucracy so Nana's in our house, there is a $400 leftover bill.
That's right. Not some large amount
Not
that you're
crazy.
willing to pay, but you can't.
Can't. It has to come from that insurance company
Yeah, just
that has
not
said, we're
logical.
not paying it. We're
Yeah.
not paying it.
Yeah.
And what Medicare did was, and I only found this out from this dear young person there, I'm not really supposed to tell you this, but what we had done is Medicare has gotten a new third-party collection because there were so many things left over that have not been collected. You unfortunately have gotten caught in the middle of that because there is this, what you have to get is you have to get that insurance company. You have to get Medicare to that insurance company to say that that bill has been zeroed out. Those, he said, those are the words, write it down. Those are the words that must come to us. Because that's what's on the chip. And if it doesn't say that, then you're in trouble.
Thank God for that one person.
One person.
That one person that will sometimes shine the light on the situation. Otherwise, it's just so frustrating. All caregivers in the world will relate to that.
That's right.
That moment. That was a great one. The other thing that you said that was truly relatable is that at one point you were seriously considering putting her in a home, but you said there could not be any restraint used on your Nana. Many of us are caregivers, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle for us in many ways. And I think you were very eloquent in sharing all the different aspects of it, the frustrations, the fatigue, and everything that goes along. Also, just wanting to be there, feeling like you want to be there, and sometimes feeling like you're not enough.
Oh, definitely. Definitely feeling. Because the thing is, what you're trying to do is continue at this point to every stage of life that's critical. is an opportunity to deepen our intimacy. It feels urgent, right? To tap into, to feel it, to deepen that intimacy.
How did you feel about your role changing with Nana? Before she was the adult, so to speak, and that changed. Now she used to take care of you. Now you were taking care of her. This role reversal.
What I learned was it wasn't a reversal, that I was doing caretaking, but she was as much an adult. All of the ways in which she was an adult had concealed, as they say in AA and STEP, all the various STEP books, conceal the adult child within, conceal the parts of us that are not yet thoroughly grown.
Say that again.
Some of us have grown up and we have parts within ourselves that are not adults, but adult children. Places where our own trauma have not healed, places where that we protect, right? That we don't let other people in because we're not healed. I learned those places. I learned my grandmother said, nobody ever tucked me in. And it wasn't about me taking care of her. It was about her loss of her mother at 6 or 7 years old. I had experienced that part of her as the part that gave extra nourishment to us as children. But I didn't know where it had come from. And I didn't know it was a wound. All I knew was that she was indulgent and luxuriously indulgent of us as children, and then stepped back when we were grown. Now I started to understand why.
You understood that she was indulgent to compensate for what she did not receive as a child?
Yes.
Then why would she pull back when you were grown?
Because when you're grown, you want a different relationship with her. You don't just want luxurious indulgence. You don't just want an ice cream cone and to play with. You want to talk back and forth. And she didn't want that. Because the indulgence and the luxury also means control.
So this is very interesting because one of the things that you were quite, for a lack of a better word, honest about is you were trying to describe her as she is, or not to make her seem better or worse, to show the positive and the negative aspects of her personality and saying, this is who she is. And that's powerful because the message that I'm getting behind that is that we're human, we're fallible, but we are still lovable, even with all of our, yeah. So that was very powerful. There is another point in.
Can I interrupt there?
Sure.
I want to do a follow-up there because that also, it's a memoir and it means it's my memories, but it's also, who am I when that person will not respond the way I want?
Absolutely.
When I'm going to grow up.
Absolutely. Because this journey is a journey of two people. I mean, your Nana was looking at her mortality or coming to terms with that. And you, as a caregiver, or we as caregivers, have to come to terms with many things. Our own mortality. We have to come with the ability to look at a person and see them not as perfect, to see their to see the mistakes, to see the problems, but still be willing to love and care for them, even when we're tired, even when they're not on their best behavior, even when we're not on our best
Our best
behavior,
behavior.
and so it is an experience. It's almost like a birthing process to the afterlife, you know. And so, which brings me to another point. There was another point in your book that really stood out for me. And this is when you have been taken care of for a fairly long time. You were tired. You were tired. The family, your husband, your daughter, other members, friends had helped, but it was still, the burden was really falling on you. I think at this point you were working from home. And at one point, I think she gets her leg caught in the bed. And you go to help her, and one thing leads to another. And then she says something that kind of stops your heartbeat for a second. She says, "You want me dead."
Don't you? You want me dead, don't you? You wish I were dead. And I couldn't say no.
No, that's such a,
I couldn't say no because at that point, speaking of honesty, she knew. I mean, when you've been with people, they know when you're telling the truth or not. I couldn't say no.
that's
Great.
and that's a very powerful moment, because there's a part of you that's tired, and you wonder how much longer. How much longer? And then there's the part that says, no, I don't want her to go. And so what do you say? And so I'm not going to say your response or what happened, but that was a moment. That was a very powerful moment. The other moment made me laugh out loud. This one made me pause and reflect.
Well, what I hope is that the play, like the book, will do that, which is what we do with each other in all relationships, but particularly in caretaking and moving toward death, where you laugh together and then you're devastated and then you're angry and then you're frustrated and then you laugh and you make each other laugh. You understand what you understand that you have lost capacity at this moment. You know, speaking of art, I mean, everything hurt, right? There's this moment where every joint, where the inflammation is out of control, where everything hurts. Old people used to say, if you don't say it out your mouth, your body's going to say
Mm,
everything hurt.
yeah, yeah.
And you start leaning harder and harder. I leaned on my husband. I leaned on my sister. I leaned on my kids. I hated myself for leaning on my kids.
Yeah, I mean, and then there is the anger. I guess that's the best word.
Yeah.
You're feeling like you're losing your life. It's like, well, what about me? What about me? I have a life. I have things that I want to do. I have places that I want to go. And you struggle with this balance of how do you do everything? How do you keep it all together?
Or you deny, that you are struggling. I mean,
I
that
don't know if you can deny. I mean, caregivers know it's hard.
caregivers
They,
know it's hard, but many caregivers never say, I want for me. Many of us never say that. We just feel it without daring to think it.
mm, or our bodies will say it, like you
Amen,
said.
amen, amen.
We'll have
Yeah.
the high blood pressure, we'll develop the obesity, it will express itself in some way.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So I don't think I'm ruining in by saying we know how it ends. Nana dies, but there are the moments in between. which make the difference. And that's just always the case. It's the moments in between, because we know the end for all of us. We're going to die. We're going to die. All right. But it's like, what happens in between? In between. And then you share the bittersweet memories of Nana, which was very, very moving. Very moving.
Well, the play asks for condensing of the book. I mean, it takes hours and hours to read the book. The play has to be in and out for 90 minutes. And that's what, I mean, God help the poor actors. I did more cuts last Friday. Oy vey. I mean, they're learning, they're doing, but the idea is how do you distill, take the grapes of life, make it into wine for the book,
Absolutely.
and then you distill it some more to get a little bit of cognac
Yeah.
as a play, right?
Yes. Yes.
That process I didn't realize how hard it would be to distill it again. When Arden said to me, "Oh, the memoir is great. Will you make a play?" I said, "Yeah, sure." But since then, since they asked in 2020, when theater shut down, my husband died.
Sorry.
And to write him in the play, the year that he died, was a whole nother thing. It was a whole nother thing.
Oh my.
It was a
Oh
whole
my.
thing.
So getting back to, I mean, but there's more to this than just the memoir. There's a opera,
Yes.
which is very interesting, because I don't think I've ever heard of this occurring before. If you could just tell us about an opera and what a libretto is, that would be really interesting.
Sure. It's just a 30-minute piece. It's called a recital opera. And I did it at the end of a residency year with the American Lyric Theater. They run a program called the Composers and Librettists Development Program. And they take people who have written and composed in other forms and just focus in on how to do opera. How do you collaborate? What's a fine libretto? How is it different to write for the human voice? How is it different to write
That's
music
interesting.
that's going to be set? And it is different. It's not just poetry. It's not just storytelling. It's not just symphonic music.
And just to be clear, a libretto is when you write the lyrics that get sung in an opera.
Right. Libretto coming from the Italian for book. So you write the book for the opera, and then the composer sets it to music. And the two of you have to be like this on that work in order for it to shine. Yeah.
That's an interesting process.
It is. It is. It's a dance. It's lovemaking. It's sharing. You really have to be together. A lot of times when opera doesn't quite work, it's because the two haven't agreed on the work versus my words versus your music. Like you have to agree on that work.
So first we have the words, and then you present the words to the composer, and then the composer comes back with the music.
True, although there's usually a prequel to that, where for me as a librettist, I have to present to that composer a story that I'm pretty sure that person is going to love, that's going to resonate. My vulgar way of saying it is I want a story that's going to make them wake up with a heart on. Like that, they have to be, or they'll start reading it, and sometimes they'll actually start hearing the music.
So are they reading the book at this point? Are they reading your memoir, or have you condensed it for them?
Condensed it. I would never give them the whole memoir. Never. What you're writing, and they were very specific with composer librettists. They said they wanted motific writing. So you write a motif like Peter and the Wolf, right? And you hear da 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 bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 and you know that's Peter, right? You know the cat comes out where you hear the cat music. So this was try to do motifs. You have three voices. They're going to give you three voices. And you figure out in an opera, you agree with whoever is singing. The music, the words have to pull you along. And then the next person comes in and says something different in a different mode, and you say, oh, wow, that too. And it really does mimic. We started talking about arts and our health. It mimics the way life comes in and pulls you different ways. And then the music comes together. So you're watching all of this happen. So the beginning is the ghost of Nana, who comes in and is pulling through the librettist's desk, looking for the work that she's writing. The second part, so it's the ghost and the granddaughter. The second part is the granddaughter and the composer who's writing this opera. It's an opera about an opera. The composer who said, and she comes and she says, I know you've written all this stuff, but she was in my study because I've rewritten it, because my question now is, did she love us? Was it
now this is what the
this is the
granddaughter
granddaughter composer, the granddaughter librettist,
right,
is saying to the composer, did she love us? And so it becomes all about, did she love us? Did I love her? Like, that's the central question in the piece. Did she love us? And the composer then gets a chance to say to the granddaughter, look, I wrote you this opera. It's got crazy triads. It's got all this stuff. And then the composer says, you and I will write 1,000 stories. Nana has just one. If this were your story, would Nana take your story away? Like, just write it the way she wants it. Just write it the way, don't ask all these damn questions. And then when she goes back to her study, having decided not to rewrite it, not to ask those questions, the grandmother is there who says to her the words she said when she was little, which is, write anything your little heart desires. Go ahead.
Interesting. So I'm wondering, what about that question? Did she love us? Why was that a question? And it wasn't answered.
Right. It wasn't answered because I think that as human beings, we're asking of each other. What is love? What is love? What is duty? What is companionship? What is ego? Do we love each other? If there are these breaks and separations, and do we love each other? Can we go to that next step together? What does it take?
Is that a question that you have from the book also?
Yeah, that's a question from the book. And it's the justification for writing a memoir. You don't write a memoir because you say to people, oh, look at me, look at my family, look at me, look at me. You write a memoir because you are right in the middle of stuff that worries other people.
That's very interesting, because having read your book, I don't think that your love could ever be questioned. And also, I don't think, as I can almost imagine how ornery Nana could get. I don't even question her love.
Right. At the end, I mean, that's why you spend all that time writing it, is to ask that question. But you share it to give confidence. Or as a friend of mine used to write, N-courage-meant. encouragement
Yeah.
to say, yes, yes, I did love her, even though.
Yeah.
I mean, the play the scene that you said, you want me dead, is, where the Lorene character steps out and says, yes, I want this dark and pissy moment to end.
Yes.
Do I
Yes.
love her? Is that love? What? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really engaging. It's very engaging. Um, I found the book definitely worth reading. Um, I do have tickets for your play. I look forward to seeing it. Um,
I hope you enjoy it.
yeah, yeah, it's good. So where is this play? Please tell us, where is
Okay.
this play being held and when is it showing and how can other people? I think the other thing before you say that, the other thing that I'm feeling right now is that Nana is so expansive at this point. She's in the book, she's in the opera, she's in the play. She's just very expansive. And somehow that feels like that would be something she would like.
I think so. Early on, I kept saying to people, they said, "Oh, she would love being in this book." I said, I don't know if she would. I don't know. Um, but uh, there is a deep respect in paying attention to someone, and I've paid attention to her in this way because I needed to learn. I also needed to learn a great deal from this experience. I am at the point of life where I need to learn something. I do not want to roll up 199 years old and still be as appalled by death as one is at 28.
Mm.
I need to learn some stuff, right?
I don't think life allows you to come to age 99 and be as appalled at death as you were at age 28. I don't even think that's possible. I don't even.
Nana was pretty appalled by death. Nana was
Well,
pretty.
that's another interesting thing about Nana. Was it her will to live or her fear of death?
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Right.
And I guess that's the question for all of us eventually, but it's clearly those that just seem to hang on, why are you hanging on? You know,
Yes. She
or,
she would
or
say
is that
something.
even a fair question to ask someone, you know?
Well, she asked it herself. Why am I still here? Why? Why am I still here?
Mm.
I don't know. I joked with Nana. I said, well, maybe the Lord's giving you an opportunity, Nana, to have an intimate relationship with somebody who'll tell you no. How about that? I didn't think that was funny. Not funny.
Mm. Right. So please tell us
Oh,
where I hope that other people listening to this will rush to buy tickets. But tell us how we can get those tickets.
that'd be great. This play is premiering on January 18th. The big opening after the preview week, rather, it previews January 18th. The world premiere opening is Jan 24. It's at Arden Theater, Arden, Arden Theater in Philadelphia. Arden, what's Arden's website? Hang on.
I had it earlier.
It is Arden Theater
Dot
and
com.
.org.
.org.
.org, and they do theater with the RE. So ardentheater.org, you can get tickets there. You can get tickets by looking up their phone number and calling the box office. That's fine too. If you happen to live in Old City, you can stop by and pick up a ticket. Their box office is open most afternoons.
Okay, so it's running from what are the dates? What are the dates again that the play is running?
Jan 24 through
24th.
Feb 25.
Okay, you're a busy lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we sell out, my last play was extended into March. So if we sell out, then I think they have a little room to extend it before.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I hope people come and see it as a prescription for themselves. We could all use some healing.
So I should put that on that you as the doctor say.
Absolutely. I am prescribing it. I think for every caregiver, I mean, because you sometimes you feel in this process that you're all alone. No one can even appreciate how hard it is. And that's what you did. You put it on paper and you expressed it. And it was like, yes, yes, the conflicting emotions, the stress, the fatigue, the weariness. Yes.
And the
Thank you for
joy
that.
and the
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for that. It's a pleasure talking to you.
I'm delighted. I'm very grateful to have been on here. Thank you so much, dear.